The Equality Act of 2010 is a single legislation that combines all the acts and regulations for the anti-discrimination law in Great Britain. The Act outlines the protected characteristics of our society, which are age, gender, civil partnership and marriage, pregnancy and maternity leave, religion, disabilities, sex and sexual orientation, and race.
Age is one of the protected characteristics of the Equality Act. This means that all ages are protected and all members of society should be treated equally and not be discriminated against because of their age or because they belong to a particular age group.
Gender reassignment is a protected characteristic in the Equality Act and means society should not discriminate against someone because of their choice to identify with a gender that's different from the gender assigned to them at birth. In the Equality Act, this is known as gender reassignment. However, individuals may prefer terms such as transsexual, transgender, transmale, or transfemale. To be protected from gender reassignment discrimination, you do not need to have undergone any specific medical treatment or surgery. This is because it is a personal process rather than a medical one. Additionally, you can be at any stage in the gender reassignment process, so proposing or planning your gender reassignment, in the process of it, or having completed it. And in employment, organisations or employees have to treat absence from work due to gender reassignment in the same way as illness or injury, otherwise this is classed as discrimination.
Marriage and civil partnership is a protected characteristic in the Equality Act. This means that if you are married or in a civil partnership, it cannot be grounds for discrimination. There are three types of marriage and civil partnership discrimination: direct discrimination, indirect discrimination, and victimization. Direct discrimination is when you are treated worse than others because you are married or in a civil partnership. Indirect discrimination is when a policy or a way of working puts those who are married or in a civil partnership at a disadvantage. And victimization is when you're treated badly because you have made a complaint about marriage or civil partnership related discrimination.
Pregnancy and maternity is a protected characteristic under the Equality Act, and this means that society should not discriminate against women because they are pregnant. Women who are pregnant or on maternity leave are entitled to the same training, promotion and recruitment opportunities and the same holiday and sickness pay as other employees. There are a number of additional protections which are offered, such as the ability to take paid time off work to attend medical appointments related to the pregnancy or attend antenatal classes, the right to be able to ask for 26 weeks of ordinary maternity leave and 26 weeks of additional maternity leave, and the ability to take days off sick due to illnesses related to the pregnancy without this going on your sickness record. This protection is from when your employer first knows that you're pregnant to 26 weeks after the birth.
Religion and belief is one of the 9 characteristics of the Equality Act and means that anyone with a religion or belief in society should not be treated unfairly or discriminated against. This can mean any organised religion or smaller religion as long as it has a structured belief system. This also takes into account non-beliefs like atheists. There are 2 branches that stem from religion and belief discrimination. One is discrimination by perception, when someone thinks you hold a certain religion or belief based on obscure assumptions. The other is discrimination by association, where someone thinks you're a part of a religion or belief based on the connections you have with other people. The Equality Act protects from these assumptions and unfair treatments, and us as a society should respect those who are part of any religion or belief.
Disability is a physical or mental impairment that has a significant long-term adverse effect on a person's ability to carry out day-to-day activities. Disability is a protected characteristic of the Equality Act. This means that those with a disability should not be treated unfavourably because of their disability. As well as this, adjustments should be made to ensure that those with a disability are not put at an unfair disadvantage.
Your sex is one of the protected characteristics under the Equality Act. The Equality Act is a piece of legislation that was passed in 2010, and it protects vulnerable characteristics, with sex being one of them. This means that your sex cannot legally be used to discriminate against you. You should never be victimised or harassed, and both sexes are entitled to equal rights and opportunities. This includes in the workplace, in school, and in general society. Examples of discrimination at the workplace include unequal pay, unequal chances of being promoted simply because of your sex, and maybe general harassment from members of the opposite sex. We should all feel comfortable exercising our rights daily. At college, we enjoy the same range of subject choices, the same support facilities such as mental health facilities, and the same rules apply to everyone regardless of their sex. If you feel as though your sex is being used to discriminate against you, you can report it as unlawful treatment under the Equality Act.
Sexual orientation is a protected characteristic in the Equality Act, and this means society should not discriminate against someone because of who or what they are sexually attracted to. The Equality Act 2010 says you must not be discriminated against someone because you are heterosexual, gay, lesbian, or bisexual, someone thinks you have a particular sexual orientation, this is known as discrimination by perception, and you are connected to someone who has a particular sexual orientation, this is known as discrimination by association. In the Equality Act, sexual discrimination includes how you choose to express your sexual orientation, such as through your appearance or the places you visit. There are 4 main types of sexual orientation discrimination. Direct discrimination. This happens when someone treats you worse than another person in a similar situation because of your sexual orientation. Indirect discrimination happens when an organisation has a particular policy or a way of working that applies to everyone, but which puts people of your sexual orientation at a disadvantage. Harassment. This occurs in the workplace when someone makes you feel humiliated, offended, or degraded. And victimization. This is when you are treated badly because you have made a complaint of sexual orientation related discrimination under the Equality Act.
Race in itself has different protected characteristics such as ethnicity, nationality, colour and national origin. Talking about racial discrimination is very important, especially now, due to the recent protests that have erupted around the world.
You know, this morning I was talking to Simba and he said to me, Keisha, what's Black Lives Matter? So I said, you know what, Simba? Let me break it down for you real quick. In 2013, a young, innocent African-American boy called Trayvon Martin was walking down a street before he was shot and murdered by a police officer who went a very long time without being prosecuted. And this is what created the Black Lives Matter movement, which aimed to bring to light the racial inequalities that black people face, both within the system and in day-to-day life. Chances are you've probably seen this movement a lot more than you usually would with the disgusting and unjust killing of George Floyd. Many people have taken to the streets in England to protest their anger. And you may be wondering, well, why is the UK protesting an American incident? Well, that's because the UK certainly is not innocent either. As of right now, black people are 4 times more as likely to contract and die of COVID-19 than their white counterparts, and the same goes for the Asian community, as they are 1.8 times more likely to die of COVID-19. And there are so many victims of police brutality in England that we need to be saying, such as Betty Mujinga, Shukru Abdi, Jimmy Mubenga, the Windrush generation and Grenfell victims. They're just a fraction of the names we need to be saying. There can be no justice where there is no peace. People also say that we do not need to remember historical events such as British slavery because they do not hold the same magnitude as they used to. But did you know in 1833, when slavery was abolished, slave owners were reimbursed for what was called the loss of property, and the amount of debt that Britain accumulated at the time was so big that the debt that started in 1833 was only fully paid off in 2015. So if you or anybody you know worked in England pre-2015, the chances is that your taxes went to paying off a slavery debt. These are the types of issues that the Black Lives Matter movement are bringing to light for everyone to know. Sometimes people misconstrue the term Black Lives Matter for meaning only Black Lives Matter, which is not the case. We value everyone regardless of their race, religion, sexuality. We are just simply bringing to light the fact that black people in particular have to face a lot of systemic racism in our society today. So I hope that was a good enough breakdown for Black Lives Matter. I know that Simba fell asleep halfway through, but that's okay. And I hope everyone is staying safe in lockdown and quarantine, and look after yourselves.
As race is a protected characteristic in the Equality Act, it requires society to treat everyone with respect and dignity. The Act further protects everyone from direct and indirect discrimination, as well as harassment and victimization, alongside people that stand up for someone else's claim, at places such as work and education. That is why it's so important to spread awareness and educate people in order to show them that they are protected. The Act further reinforces the need for positive action by the public when people are treated dreadfully and are at a disadvantage because of their ethnicity, nationality or colour.